I'm going to be getting an extension on my house. We're going to be adding some extra storeroom and storage rooms at the end of the house. I've got all the building plans and regulations. It's been approved. I'm going to explain in this video everything I went through and how we started. This is day one. So the builders have actually started getting stuff ready. So you'll see that on my next episode. But in this one, I wanted to cover the details, the main questions people are going to have about getting an extension. How difficult is it? How much does it cost? All these little niggly things that is not very clear. So I'll cover the goals for the extension, what I'm going to be doing with it, the local regulations that I had to follow, the budget, the design element of it, and any obstacles preparing the site, foundations, utilities, exterior, interior, the inspection, and the final approval, because it's quite a lengthy process. I started this about 2 months ago. So let me check the actual date of my first email so I can give you an exact timescale. Right now, I'm recording this on the 13th of January 2024, and my first email here was October, end of October, so 25th of October. I'm going to be putting a supporting article to go with this, where I'm going to give you all the resources, because there's a lot of things that I discovered quickly which I think you should be careful of, especially if you're going through this journey yourself. I have all the linked information in the description. I record this as a live segment, so whatever happens you get to see. There's no BS here. You'll get links to the people I use, maybe. Depends how well it ends up, because right now I'm in the start of the journey, so everything seems to be going okay. However, you know, with these types of projects things get a little bit hazy. So let's look at number one. We had to find out what we want to do. I went into the garden. I've got some pictures. I'm going to share some overlays as well. Let me show you this. So here is the garden. That's the garden view from the fence, from outside of the garden looking in. So you'll see I've already got a shed in the garden. So if you notice, I did pictures over my left fence, so next door's garden, basically just showing what you can see, because I quickly found that there's something about the rule of light and the 45-degree angle which got complicated. So we'll explain a bit about that. I'll explain how I understood it. So I did a picture over my left fence to show anybody quoting me for architect work what it looks like on the left side, and then I did one over my right fence, over the right fence, what you can see. So you'll see my neighbors already got an extension on the right hand side, and I wanted to have an extension to basically have as a utility room and a storeroom. So that's the main goal with this, and you can see it's 3 meters wide by 6 meters long, which is beyond permitted development. Permitted development is something that means something you can do without going through a full-blown application process. I had to go through an application process, cost me nearly, in the UK, over £3,000. This will depend which locations you're in, where you are, and all sorts of stuff, but I'm gonna give you real figures I used. So that means you'll see here 6.3 meters long from my old building. And you'll notice how good my architect is, because he didn't mark the width here, so I had to message him and ask him what the width was. He told me internally is 2450, but come on mate, you couldn't put a little thing there charging me 3,000 odd pounds for architect plans and application fees and everything. I'll explain the breakdown of that and how that worked out. And that's the roof here, you can see. So you'll see one thing, I had to go through 2 architects. Firstly, the first architect I spoke to told me I cannot go beyond the original house. So my original house wall finishes here, and they said I can't go past that, which would have meant this extension would have been really thin and narrow. But the second architect I went to, this has been approved, so this has worked. So the first architect wasn't quite sure what they were talking about, which is something I discovered. So first up, have an idea of how big you want to go. Be realistic in terms of, I wanted a 2-story, like one on top of the other, and I couldn't have that because of the rule of light. So there's a 45-degree rule from your neighbor's window. If you obstruct their view, then it's like complicated, so you can't really have that. So I had to stick to a 1-level floor extension, which is basically this ground floor extension. And we asked the first architect to have a look at it. They seemed professional online. The first architect I went to, I won't mention names because there's no point, and they didn't really have many. They were professional, but they didn't have many clients that they've helped. So it just seemed like they didn't really know the law and rules. So the second one I went to has done a number of extensions in my area. They charged more money, but you'll notice a lot of architects that I spoke to on the phone, some charged something like £500, some said £800, some said £1,000, but the one I went to is about £3,000 more or less, 2,500 and VAT and all that stuff. So is it worth paying more? I don't know. I got approved, so maybe it was. I wonder if I would have been approved with a lower cost architect. So looking at this information here, you can see that actually the extension I've got is, you'll see here that there, like it's protruding out beyond my old building. So that's good, because now this room is wider. That's a wider room than it could have been. I have got an alleyway there which is quite small, so it'll be interesting when the planning inspector comes. I'm assuming it'll be fine because they've approved it. They know where the boundary line is, and there's a gate there. So based on the approval, that was good. I got an architect involved. I sent the architect emails and pictures saying this is what I want. He came out, he measured the garden, and he said, okay, this is what you can do. I said, my neighbour's gone out X far, can I go that the same? I want this. And he did a plan. He sent me the plan. I approved the plan, he submitted the plan. The first payment I made to him was something like £800, and then he submitted the paperwork. I paid him another amount, and then there was a separate fee. So building regulations is a separate fee, planning application is a separate fee. There's two kind of major fees. So I paid those separately, which meant my application went through. They submitted the application at the end of October is when the planning permission application went in. So October 25th, and end of that month they did the plans within like a week. And then I got an email back on 21st of December. So October, November, December, basically 6 weeks, full November and end of December, just before Christmas. They said, okay, it's been approved and you can do your work. So because it was before Christmas, I then started looking at builders. Number of builders, there's a couple of builders that we're quite good at in terms of doing work and understanding how work gets done. If you're totally new to this, you need to find good builders, and word of mouth is going to be good. See what work they've already done. We found some builders, they've spent day one with us today, and they've done cleaning up. They've taken my shed down. Remember my shed that was in my garden? That was like a 16-foot shed which we built about 10 years ago, and they've taken that down. So it was really screwed up in terms of we used a lot of screws, which meant it was easy to take down. It was not nailed, which is here, that shed is really long. You can't tell in here, but in my next episode, I'll do you a video, a time lapse of it being taken down. They've taken that down. They've cleaned the ground. They've opened up the fence. They're starting the foundation. So tomorrow will be day 2. So I'll do a video about that and explain that. But overall, the process was quite straightforward. I did it all via an architect. They submitted the papers. I got approved. Then they submitted the regulations paperwork. So I paid them some more money, basically. Pay the money, you get approved. Unless you ask for something really extravagant or intensive, which isn't feasible. So we're going through this process right now. It's been approved. We have the paperwork. They give you a contracted like an inspector, and the architect will communicate with the inspector to make sure key elements of the build, you'll get visits. Those key elements are when you set your foundations, when you set the damp proof course and the fluent flow insulation, they'll do a second visit. They'll come for the drainage when you have the drainage set up. They'll come for the roof, and they'll do a final inspection. So that's going to be all the key elements that they're going to be visiting you for while you're doing work. I'll cover those in my video so you can see how that works out. But so far it seems like it's okay. I'll cover you through all the highs and lows. So in the next episode you will see me